3 years ago today, as of recording this, the best episode of Demon Slayer dropped. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we're doing a special video because I woke up today to remember something very important. As of recording this, it is June 18th, 2026, which means 3 years ago today, the season finale of Swordsmith Village dropped and my world changed. As a manga reader, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into every time you watch a new season because you know where the story is going. However, there are things that you don't know, and that's what makes it exciting. A good adaptation of a manga should elevate the manga. And in my opinion, in this season finale of Swordsmith Village, Ufotable did just that. A scene that was already pretty heartbreaking and shocking in the manga became an emotional roller coaster that I will remember forever. So to honor that episode and how good I think it is, we are going to watch a certain roughly 10 minutes from this episode and chat about it, talk about it, analyze it, and the works. This scene is incredible. It's one of the reasons why I don't just love Demon Slayer, but I love anime in general. So I thought, why not just watch through it, talk about it, share my thoughts, and fair warning, I'm probably gonna cry. It's been quite a while since I watched this. But we're gonna dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. I've been thinking for a while about what to do about the Demon Slayer watch party that I started in January and then stopped and haven't been able to come up with any way to make it more interesting. And I am thinking of replacing it with just talking about certain scenes throughout Demon Slayer that mean a lot to me, because I can kind of gather my thoughts ahead of time and then take a lot more time to break things down. So if you are interested in this replacing the series, let me know in the comments. And also, I'm trying to get more followers on Instagram right now. I am trying to hit 30K by my 30th birthday. It's probably not gonna happen, but y'all can change that. On Instagram, I post all kinds of things that I don't post anywhere else, so you definitely wanna check it out. It is linked in the description. But with that, this has been a long enough opening. Let's get into it. And for the record, I'm gonna be talking a lot about how this scene moves me. As a manga reader who went into watching this, my expectations were extremely high. And just a spoiler alert, they managed to not only meet my expectations, but exceed it. So we're gonna talk a lot about everything that went into the scene and why I think this is one of Ufotable's best moments of elevating the series in a way that makes sense for the story. This is true elevating because they took a scene that was already very emotional and they pretty much grabbed you by the neck and said, you're gonna cry today. So we're gonna see how I can handle watching this for the first time in probably over a year, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so here we go. And I am starting at a very particular place because I want to really focus in on this particular scene, this particular turn of events. Obviously, when you think of the season finale of Swordsmith Village, most people think about the scene with Tanjiro and Nezuko, right? With Nezuko conquering the sun and everything. Spoiler alert, I hope you're not watching this without knowing what's gonna happen in this scene. Obviously, Muzan also gets backstory in this episode, but we're gonna focus in on this particular scene. And I'm starting here because I want to talk about specifically things that made it surpass my expectations and made me emotional even though I knew the outcome of everything. And we cannot not mention this moment right here. It's an underrated moment. People tend to forget about it. I'll explain why it's underrated in a moment. I'm gonna pause there for a second for copyright. I don't want the scene to go on for too long. This should not surprise anyone who's been watching me for a while to know why I'm gonna say this particular moment is so huge. Hanai-san, Natsuki Hanai, who is Tanjiro's Japanese voice actor, he has always done an incredible job with Tanjiro. I think we can all agree that not only does he embody Tanjiro well and just cover all of Tanjiro's many emotions well, he elevates the character, in my opinion. Tanjiro is not Tanjiro without this voice, in my opinion. That's just how I see it. But in this moment, I remember watching, what is the channel name? It's called like Anime Wins, I think. So if you're watching this, shout out. There's no way he's watching this. He's way too big of a creator. But he was doing one of his videos about like all of the wins of the season and he just like puts together a bunch of clips and says, this is a win, this is a win, this is a win. He actually called out this moment. And I remember him saying something along the lines of like, this voice acting is crazy. What, did they punch him in the gut in the studio? And I was like, for real, right? This probably isn't difficult. He probably has some kind of technique as a voice actor to be able to sound both angry and out of breath. I mean, he just fell off a cliff, landed in a tree. Like, Tanjiro's going through it right here, and this isn't even the worst of it, right? He's angry, he's emotional in a different way than he's about to be, but somehow he managed to make it sound like he's very, very much struggling to breathe and yet able to still say things like this. This is an incredible moment that gets overlooked because of what is about to happen. And I just really wanted to call out his voice acting here. I will take any opportunity to call out his voice acting. I'm still upset he didn't get nominated for an award for this season. Enough to make Hantengu visibly scared of him, even though he's literally a bruised and broken teenager hanging from a tree. Like, insane. All right, I love the turn of events that happened right after this. We are going to skip a bit. Okay. Guys, this might have been a bad idea. I'm gonna cry on camera very, very, very much. I think even the choice to have them slow motion reaching for each other there is a choice by Ufotable, because this scene really does go by so quickly in the manga. You see literally just like 2 panels. She's running to him, reaching for him, and then he's running to her, but it's not like super dramatic. It's just like, no, like there's confusion. He's not sure why she's running to him when she needs to run away from the sun, try and get some shelter or something. And this just kind of starts the, some people might call it extreme lengthening of the scene. I think they nail this sequence of events. They add on to the stress and fear that you already feel in the manga. Like, how fast you read does determine how fast you read a manga, right? I always say this to, and I'm gonna go a little bit off topic here. I always say this when people complain about the pacing of the anime. A lot of people complained about Infinity Castle and how much dialogue there was, how much back and forth there was, and by the 3rd or 4th time I was watching it, I was trying to understand where these people were coming from because I didn't feel it at first. And I was like, okay, like there's a lot of walking around and talking to each other, which is pretty common for an anime and for Demon Slayer. So I don't really know why people were so upset about it at this point. And I realized it's just because when you read the manga, you read it at whatever speed you read it at. I was someone, especially the first time I read the manga, I just kind of sped through it. I didn't spend a ton of time looking at all of the drawings, which I should have, obviously, but I just wanted to get to the next thing and get to the next thing because it was so good. I just wanted to read. But a lot of people really take their time through reading. Now, with an anime, you are subject to the voice actors and the production team and how long they decide to make everything. So a lot of times, something that didn't feel super long in the manga does feel long when you're watching it in the anime form because you can't read it at your own pace. You're having to just sit there and listen to them say the dialogue, right? So a lot of times it can feel unnaturally long because it's just like, oh my god, just fight, like do something, right? But in this case, I feel like every single moment in this scene that takes longer than it does in the manga is because Ufotable knew how important this scene is to the story, to these characters, to the audience, to everyone. This is not just the end of a fight. This is a very big deal. So from like the very beginning, they are choosing to make this a bit more dramatic, make this a bit more intense. The music is a bit more intense than I ever imagined prior to watching it here, because it's scary what's happening. So I really like that they chose to really lengthen out everything here. And this is gonna take forever if I yap this much, but this is the point of the video that I'm making, so. To those of you that call this a plot hole, that the demon is fine even though in a moment here Nezuko starts to burn up, keep in mind that this large demon is sheltering the small demon. So it's taking a lot longer for the sunlight to hit the small demon because it's in the shell of the big demon. It is starting to fade away, but it naturally, I feel like the longer a demon lives, the longer it takes to fade away. So in Nezuko's case, she's only been a demon for a short period of time, so she starts burning up very quickly. But this demon, with the fact that it's been, it's so old, it would take longer to burn up, and the fact that the main body is actually inside, I think that's kind of keeping it from burning up as fast as well. Not really a plot hole, in my opinion. It's an easy explanation to me. The sun is rising so fast. God, the look of just it's happening very fast. Like, something we always have to remember too is that things for us, it takes a few seconds. For them, that's like a millisecond. But his face is so almost in disbelief, because he knows what's happening, but it's almost as if he felt like if he took down the demon right now, then whatever was going on with the sun would just be fine. Like, he's not processing everything that's happening. Tanjiro usually is processing multiple things at once, but it's interesting because right here, because his sister's life is in danger, it's like he can't process everything like he normally does. He has to compartmentalize his brain. Okay, gotta get Nezuko out of here. Oh, the demon's still alive. Okay, gotta take him down. Oh, Nezuko's burning. I gotta run to her. Like, he can't think of anything else, right? Which is reasonable because of the position that he's in right now. And no, he cannot use his shirt to cover her from the sun. Something else that a lot of people say. I hate that translation. I hate it. It takes you out for a minute, because why is he saying, oh crap? And I just want to say really quick, he cannot take his shirt off to cover her. That wouldn't work. If that worked, then all of the demons would be outside during the day all the time. They would just cover themselves in fabric from head to toe. Him doing that, it just wouldn't be strong enough. She has to be completely away from the sun. When she's in the box, she's completely away from the sun because the box is made specifically to be treated as if it were she's inside a house or something, right? So no, him taking off his shirt and covering her with it would not help, nor is he able to think outside the box in this moment. He's just trying to get people to help, to get her out of there. This little shot right here, how desperate he looks. His face is, I don't know any other word than desperate to really describe like how this scene right here, this pause screen looks, with him hanging on to her for dear life, the desperation in his voice, his face. But I think what's interesting here, and I'm gonna try and talk about some things that I find a bit more like a deep dive and analyze what's happening here. He's chosen Nezuko. I don't think there's any reason to believe that he truly can't make up his mind here. I think what's happening is mentally, because he's so desperate, because he's so scared of losing the only person he has left, right? Like, he is clinging to the only person he has left. Yes, he has Zenitsu. Yes, he has Inosuke. He has the Demon Slayer Corps. That's not the same. This is all he has left. The bond between these two is very different from his bond with any other characters. Even though his bond with a lot of the other characters is very strong, it's not anything like his bond with his sister. She is all he has left of his former life. She is the reason that he is a Demon Slayer. She is the reason he's able to wake up every day and keep moving forward. I think that's very clear. He here has chosen Nezuko, but he is such a kind person. He's such a moral person that he's like kind of forcing himself to say, I can't make up my mind, because he knows that choosing her would mean not only letting the swordsmiths who are running away from the demon die, but also the likelihood that Hantengu would then gain enough strength from eating those swordsmiths to get himself outside. Because we see there's trees that are like in the vicinity, right? But Tanjiro is injured. The sun is already up. Like, there's not really anything he can do. It truly is shelter Nezuko and let the swordsmiths and maybe many people die, or let Nezuko die. And here's the thing too, is even if he stays with her in this moment, what's gonna happen? You can argue she's too far gone already. There's no box. The box we haven't had all night. We don't know where it is. There's no way any of those people can get down the cliff. It's a cliff. Uichiro's unconscious. Genya is trying, but is not going to be fast enough with how fast she's burning up. So like, in the mindset of, obviously we know in hindsight that she's going to be fine, that she can conquer the sun here. But that's like, to me, what's so harsh about this scene is that he's choosing her, but at the end of the day, if he had stayed here and she didn't kick him away, like we're going to see in a moment, if she wasn't immune to the sun, she would have just disintegrated in his arms. That's the only thing that could have happened. I don't think Genya would have gotten there in time, even though Genya like does get down the cliff eventually. I don't think he would have gotten there in time if she wasn't immune to the sun. And like, he's not thinking things through. Tanjiro, the character who can think everything through, when met with the danger of his losing his sister, cannot think anything through and has a complete panic attack. So this is another moment where I need to shout out the voice acting. Just once again, I'll put a counter how many times I'm going to shout out his voice acting, because honestly, his voice acting is one of the reasons why this scene hit me so hard. The panic attack, the hyperventilating, and just the clear fear and desperation in his voice. There's not really any way I can imagine he could have performed this better. So here we go. The silence of here too, the music stops. You can hear the burning. You can hear him literally like groaning in pain because he can't. He's made his decision. He doesn't know that. He knows he needs to go help the villagers. Like, he started holding on to her tighter there. He started... The way they use silence. That was a very extended scene too. This was a bad idea. I'm sorry, I need to pause it. So none of that was in the manga. When I said earlier how when it comes to a good adaptation, take the source material and elevate it. That's what they're doing here. I think some people didn't like that they threw in the flashbacks because at the end of the day, this is a death fake out. At the end of the day, Nezuko's going to be okay. But I think the point in them adding these is we are on this ride for a lot longer with Tanjiro, because the way I felt this scene was in the manga was I didn't even have time to cry. I was in shock. Well, I was stressed, and then I was in shock, and then I was relieved. Because quite literally, you can see here in the manga, this page is when he's like, can someone help? Then she kicks him off. Then she smiles at him. He sees that. He lands. And then we're at the scene that's about to show. And then quite literally, 1, 2, 3, this is 4 pages from that. 4. I read this in 30 seconds. They've extended this so long that you have no choice but to feel shocked, feel stressed, feel sad, angry, all of those things, which I think makes the scene mean so much more in this moment. The Kamado siblings are the heart of this show. So them giving the scene the time to breathe through it, to feel these emotions with these characters, specifically with Tanjiro, it makes the scene have a lot more weight when it's such an important scene, because this is like, to me, the emotional climax of the story. There are way more emotional things that are going to happen later on in the story. But this is the climax of it, because everything that happens in this scene completely changes the trajectory of the rest of the story, right? So they really took their time through this, and I think this was one of the best decisions they could make. And here we have one of the most incredible sequence of events I have seen and heard. I'm gonna ascend while this piano starts. So cinema, absolute cinema, so that I can allow my emotions to stop crying. The reflection in his eye to parallel the scene in Mugen Train as the tears form. And the voice acting. Hanai-san, take it over. Was that a real shot of clouds? Okay, that sequence of events right there is why I say this scene, this episode, is Demon Slayer's best. This scene perfectly mixes the beautiful animation, the gorgeous soundtrack. I still think to this day, this soundtrack right here, this piano, is probably my favorite, not just Demon Slayer soundtrack, but at least anime soundtrack. I don't know if I can say it's my favorite soundtrack of all time. I'm a bit of a soundtrack buff. I've been listening to soundtracks my entire life. It has recency bias somewhat since it's only 3 years old, but the soundtrack, the voice acting, and the emotions of this scene. This is why I prefer this over Entertainment District. That's my hot take, I guess. Whenever people are like, oh, what's your favorite episode of Demon Slayer? They're always like, episode 10 of Entertainment District, which I get. I understand why. That was really freaking good. It's a feast for your eyes, right? This feels like more to me. When people try and say, which anime character has the best rage moment? And the clips that they include is a bunch of these characters, and then Tanjiro is when he's taking down Gyutaro, I say, no, that's not even that much of a rageful moment for him. That's him surpassing his limits. This is rage. This is Tanjiro's rage. His eyes turn red, completely, fully red, not just like the little bottoms of them. He's practically growling. The cry that he lets out when he deals the final blow is a mixture of a battle cry and also him letting out the emotions of believing that his sister is now dead. Everything that he's done this entire story, everything that he has left in this moment he believes is gone. He understood when she kicked him off that that was her telling him, you need to go do your job. You have to leave me behind. I don't think she did that knowing that she was going to conquer the sun. I think she genuinely was sacrificing herself so that he would save the lives of innocent people. She knew that he needed to do that for multiple reasons. If he didn't, he'd lose his job. If he didn't, she'd probably still fade away. All of these things. He knew once she kicked him away, he could not go running back to her. That was her making the decision, you go do this. So now he is acting with the thought that she is now dead. And the music perfectly encapsulates the urgency of his actions to make sure that her sacrifice doesn't go in vain, that he takes down this demon. But still, like he tears up in the moment, and then when he starts running away, he forces them back because he has to focus now. And he's back to that like focused version of himself that we usually see during battles. But he still is worked up. He still is over emotional. When I talk about the voice acting, and forgive me if you watch this in dub, I have not watched this scene in dub. What Hanai-san does here, and he does this a lot, he's an incredible voice actor. He's so talented, but what I find so intriguing about the way he performs Tanjiro is that Tanjiro is constantly yelling, right? As much as that final battle cry here when he beheads him is amazing, and I still, like, when I hear that battle cry, I'm like, bro, could you talk after? Like, I feel like he probably had to take at least a few days off from work, which he probably didn't, again, because he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. He probably has some kind of technique that helps. But what I find even more impressive is the ability to, like, he starts out when he says, like, sniff him out. He's, like, almost empty sounding, almost, like, quiet, almost a whisper. And then as the scene progresses, he gets more and more loud until that very end. I don't know if that was just the director telling him to do that or if that was his choice. That's not something that the manga is telling you to do. That's something that you have to feel that's what it is. Whether that's the director saying, this is how I feel this goes, or if that's the voice actor saying, this is how I feel this goes. So maybe I should be shouting out the director as well, in case the director was telling him to do it this way. We as an audience during this scene are feeling a roller coaster of emotions. Like I said, we felt stressed, and then we felt desperate, and then we felt shocked, and then we felt sad, and now here we feel it's bittersweet because he's finally taken down Huntanga, which has been so difficult to take down this entire time. But we as an audience right here are like, well, she's dead. So like, okay, great, we took him down. But now what? Now where does the story go? We as an audience feel that, partially because that's where the story is taking us, but because that's also what Tanjiro is feeling. And we can feel those emotions just through the way they animate his face with like the red eyes, the dead glares that he has, the way the music is, and the way the voice acting is. The story doesn't tell us you have to feel all these emotions. We feel those emotions because of the work of art that everyone put into to create this moment for us. And I think that's really beautiful. I feel like I haven't done this scene justice because that sequence of events right there is genuinely probably my favorite sequence of events this show has given me so far, including the movie. Yes, because my love for Demon Slayer is the emotions that I feel, the love and care I have for these characters. Great. The action sequences are great. The moments when Gyu unlocks his mark, amazing. One of my favorite moments in the show. The moment when the group takes down Gyutaro and Daki, amazing. Even in episode 19 of season 1, when he awakens as Hino Kamikagura, we hear Kamado Tanjiro no Uta for the first time. Very emotional, by the way. It still doesn't hold the same weight as this moment because everything that Tanjiro's worked for, and therefore everything that we as an audience have wanted this story to go to, we think has been just taken away from us immediately. And in the manga, and this is not to put down the manga at all, the source material is always the best. If you have not read the manga, read the manga, because the manga, I think, is still a lot more emotional. Well, not a lot more emotional, because the emotional moments in the anime still hit. But the manga has a special kind of emotion tied to it because there's not as much focus on the fight sequences as there is in the anime. This is not to drag on the manga. A good anime adaptation takes a good scene in the manga and makes it even better. And I think that's what Ufotable has done here. From the time that I started this scene when Tanjiro was in that tree to the time we'll get to the end here of this scene, in the manga it took me a minute and a half to read. But this is like a 20-minute long scene because they're taking their time and they're making sure we sit with each emotion and breathe with each emotion that Tanjiro is feeling so that we as an audience can feel that. I think that's all I wanted to say about this. Hanae-san deserved better at all the awards after this, and so did the composers. I think they won like animation of the year, they won those things, but they didn't win OST or voice actor, and both of those, I try not to be mad over the Crunchyroll Awards because whatever, but those two, I'm just like, ah. Anyway. And we're switching to another emotion here. I have something to say, but I feel like I can't pause it right now. Okay. As I said, when the roller coaster of emotions we were feeling, right, went from the emptiness, the anger, whatever, from taking him down to devastation. Those moments when he just falls to his knees and starts sobbing, there was some anime original lines there that I think are really important that they add. And also, okay, so in the manga, once again, this is him beheading him, and then it goes straight to him on his knees. So they add the like kind of just taking a few steps, like staggering, like looking completely lost. And then Interestingly enough, this is just a translation thing, because what he says is, when he says, like, I won, but I sacrificed Nezuko, he doesn't use any word for himself there. He just says katta, which means to win in past tense. And then I can't really say it word for word, but sacrificed Nezuko, again, without referring to himself. So in the manga, the translator decided to go with we won, but we sacrificed, or we lost Nezuko is what it says. We won, but we lost Nezuko. It hits a lot more when it's I won, but I sacrificed Nezuko, because it feels a lot more like he's specifically talking to himself. I won, but I lost Nezuko. And then, right after that, he says, turning Nezuko back into a human is the reason I came this far. That line, ladies and gentlemen, was not in the manga. This video is gonna end up being a lot longer than I expected, because I've been recording for almost an hour already, and I'm not done. I won, but I sacrificed Nezuko. To turn Nezuko into a human was the reason I came this far. I think there is a lot of depth in that one line that Ufotable decided to add. To me, I read him saying that as him going, what do I do? What would he do? What would he do if Nezuko had actually died here? That is probably a video for another time. If you want to hear that, let me know. I've thought a lot about, like, what would have happened. I highly disagree with the idea that the story would have gotten better or would have been better if she had died. I hardcore disagree. I think that's like a just complete misunderstanding of the way the story is built. But what would he have done? He's asking himself that by saying that that's why he came this far. That was why I came this far. So he's saying, like, that's why I came this far. So why am I here now? What am I gonna do? He's 15. This is what makes me emotional over the scene, because I've known for years, long before I ever watched this in anime form, that she was fine. But you have to, like, sit and think, like, what is going on inside of Tanjiro's head this entire time? He thinks right here that it's over. Why remain a demon slayer? Yeah, he wants to protect innocent lives, but turning Nezuko into a human was the reason he joined the Corps, was the reason he got as far as he got, because he always had that hope. He always had that belief, and he always was thinking through what would happen if he died, but he never thought about what would happen if she died. He never thought through that, because she's a demon. She wasn't gonna die. There was not gonna be any reason that this would happen until it happened. And now what does he do? He thinks he's failed everybody. He thinks he's failed Nezuko. He thinks he's failed his entire family, because he's promised them, you know, they're not around anymore, but he's kind of like coping by promising his parents and his siblings that are all dead that, like, he was gonna turn her into a human, that he was gonna protect her. And he has failed in this moment. He's failed her, he's failed his family, he's failed himself. So in this moment, he's saying that as a, what do I do? I think this was just these two sentences. If Ufotable hadn't added anything else, they didn't add the flashbacks, the music wasn't as beautiful as it was, they didn't lengthen each moment and make you sit with your emotions. If they hadn't have done all of that, just adding this line elevated it, because it lets you in on Tanjiro's true, like, emotional turmoil that he's experiencing right now. Tanjiro is a very self-deprecating person. So of course his first thought process would be, well, I failed, so what do I do? Right? But they weren't gonna have him say exactly that. One final thing, and then I feel like I need to finish the scene and wrap this video up. At Anime Expo 2023, there was a Demon Slayer panel where the voice actors for Tanjiro and Muichiro were there. So Natsuki Hanai, who I speak about quite often, I hope you know his name at this point, and Kengo Kawanishi for Muichiro. There was at some point, and I'm going to paraphrase because you're not allowed to record and I didn't write anything down. I just sat there in the moment and listened to what they had to say. But I do remember Hanai-san being asked by the host about this scene and how he felt recording it. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hanai-san does have a wife and 2 young daughters. They are 5 years old. They're twins. It's very cute. He posts about them a lot. He's a very doting father. And at this panel, he said that when he was recording this scene, he read the manga a lot leading up to it because he knew this was a very important moment for Tanjiro and for Nezuko and for the story. That he felt like when he was recording, because he had read it so much, he felt like he was like actually Tanjiro. And the emotions that Tanjiro were feeling, he felt himself. And he said that was because he could imagine being in this situation with his own family and that he was legitimately crying. So he like explicitly pretty much said like, yes, that I was actually crying, which I think just shows how much passion he has for this character. And I think that's one of the reasons why he does such a good job with him. I mean, he does a good job with every job that he does, for the record. But there's something special with the way he performs Tanjiro. I genuinely think there's something special. And I think it's because he has that like love and care for the character, but also he has experienced so much in his life that he can like kind of relate and also like put himself in Tanjiro's shoes when he's recording because of his own family. So found that just like an interesting tidbit that he said when at that panel. And I think it shows. I think it shows. So let's finish this scene, y'all, to dry my tears, and hopefully they won't come back because I don't know. I don't know why I keep saying I shouldn't cry. Like I knew going into this scene just is. And the reflection in his eye again. I have a feeling we're gonna see that a few more times. I don't know. That seems to be something Ufotable wants to do. And even like his gasp when she starts speaking. Like he hasn't heard her actually speak in years. So he's just gone from thinking that she's dead to hearing her speak for the first time in years. And then the relief washes over him. And even the swordsmiths are crying, honestly. And Genya did get down. And he hits a wall. You know, he has a tendency to do that. Just like falling forward. Just hopefully I don't die. Just an incredible scene from start to finish. The way that this was done, the introduction, I haven't even talked about the introduction of Kamado Nezuko no Uta. And something that I find so interesting is like we've heard her motif a lot throughout the show. We've heard plenty, but this is like the introduction of her true song. I mean, that's literally the name of the song. For those of you who don't know, Kamado Tanjiro no Uta and Kamado Nezuko no Uta, it literally translates to their song. So Kamado Tanjiro's song, Kamado Nezuko's song, right? So the introduction of that in this moment, at first it's like kind of mean because like she's dying, like, but then just like how in season 1, when his song was introduced, when he unlocked Hino Kamikagura and, you know, started becoming what he truly will become. And for her, she's unlocking something that both have to do with the sun, and it's just so beautiful, the parallels between the two of them, that is already present in the story that Ufotable draws on here and makes even more apparent. They changed some stuff here. The scene with Tamayo actually happens right after she says good morning, so Ahayo. The manga goes to Tamayo. So you'll see this is this page, that's the end of the chapter, and then it goes to Tamayo. I think that this was a choice to move where it was because they wanted to focus on the emotions of this scene, which I like. Honestly, I didn't mind that they moved it. I think some people, they didn't like that they moved it because they were very confused what was going on with Nezuko, and it was just like, what's happening? Like, what the heck is happening here? Like, why is she okay? In the manga, they make it very clear, like, almost immediately, like Tamayo was saying Nezuko may be able to withstand sunlight shortly. And this was a letter that they showed in the manga. Chachimaru was actually trying to get this letter to Tanjiro right when Hantegu first showed up. They took that out of the anime because the manga has a narrator, so the narrator can kind of walk us through the story, but they took the narration out of the story and gave a lot of the narration lines to Tanjiro. So Tanjiro actually has more dialogue in the anime than he does in the manga, when he already has a ton of dialogue because he's the main character, and he's also a character that talks a lot. He's just like a very talkative character. So they moved things around because I think we don't see Tamayo say, like, I think she'll be able to withstand sunlight soon, until after we get Muzan's story. Yeah, it's all the way down at the end of the episode. It's quite obvious to me they chose to do that because they wanted to really, really hone in on our emotions. They wanted to make sure we were crying and that we could, again, just like really breathe through the scene, feel all these emotions before they moved on. And I personally like that. They really, really knew, to me, how important this scene was for the Kamado siblings. And I think Ufotable has always really loved writing or drawing or whatever, like producing these scenes with the Kamado siblings. That's a little bit more earlier on in the season. You know, they took one of Gotoge's little doodles that they put sometimes in between each chapter, and they made it an entire scene, which was when Tanjiro was braiding her hair and that sort of thing. So that was a masterpiece of a scene, and that is why I think this is the best scene in Demon Slayer so far, including the movie. While there is so many amazing scenes in this show that I could go over, I think that this one is just extra special because of how well it's done, but also how important it is to the show. I think people tend to write it off because it was a death fake out at the end of the day. A lot of people don't like death fake outs. Demon Slayer doesn't do death fake outs very often. Pretty much once a character is dead, they're dead. But for Nezuko, they bent the rules. And I liked that they did that because I think that that was the right choice on their part. And they decided to make this scene, the manga was more shocking than anything. It was surprising, and then before you knew it, she was okay, and you were just kind of like questioning, and then they kind of answered that very quick. But the anime decided to go the emotional route, and they did a fantastic job at it. Everyone involved, like, I just give my hats off to literally everyone. I know I've talked about Hanai-san a lot, so I want to give my hats off to the animators and how they had to animate an action sequence and not just be like, wow, spectacle, wow, amazing, but be like, all right, like, this is very important emotional-wise. This is very important character-wise. They had to add the sunlight. They had to, you know, for the first time, Tanjiro was fighting someone with the sun shining, and the way they added it in was so cool. And I want to shout out the composers, truly. The addition of Kamado Nezuko no Uta and that piano piece when Tanjiro takes him down. I know it's not fully piano the entire time, but you know what I'm talking about. That plays such a big part in how good this scene is, just overall. And Nezuko's voice actor, you know, even she had like so many emotions through this scene, even though for most of it she wasn't talking, and then like in the end she only could say a few words. It was still like she did such a good job with it, like everybody involved. Okay, I'm gonna stop gushing about the scene. What's your favorite scene in Demon Slayer? Let me know. Also, if you want to make this the series, let me know what scenes you want to see. I don't have to do them in chronological order. We can go all the way back to season 1 now if you want me to. If you want my next scene breakdown to be season 1, let me know. Also, if you don't like this and you're like, no, please don't make this a series, let me know. Just be nice about it. Sometimes my feelings get hurt. But that's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one. Wow, 71 minutes. The video's not gonna be that long because I'll have to cut it, but I really thought this wasn't gonna take that long. I had a lot to say. All right, Matane.